upward gradients like these. Alcos are not the only locomotives that can resemble steam engines. Welcome back to the Sunshine State Rails. This cool morning on March 8th, 2020, we've made it to Lakeland, Florida just in time for CSX train 0738, a local departing Winston Yard heading east with 2 GE locomotives and 60 cars, 59 rock loads bound for Davenport, and a covered hopper bound for Auburndale. These CSX aggregate hoppers loaded with rock are making their final miles from Kmac, Georgia to Davenport, Florida. After coming in the night before on Q603 coming from Waycross, these rock loads are on their final miles to their destination. Now here is a fairly big topic surrounding this video. As of March 9th, 2020, a maintenance curfew has just gone into effect on the CSX Jessup subdivision between Folkston, Georgia and Waycross, Georgia. That has affected many trains coming into and out of Waycross and their departure times. A few of those trains we will catch in this video. Well, kind of catch it. Not sure if this was an effect of the curfew or not, but Q220, which is now daily auto racks from Winston to Montgomery, Alabama, is now back to his Winston or 10th Street origination. He was already requesting to head north, and by the time we got to where he was, this was all we saw before the traffic lights said no train for us. So from there it was back to Winston Yard on radio talk of CSX train 0719 requesting to leave Winston and head down to the CH spur to switch 2 customers. And it was this train that had the locomotive which really pushed me to come out this Sunday. Running long hood forward on this 4-car local today was CSX locomotive 2756, the very last of its kind. 2756 is the very last CSX GP38-2 to still wear Yellow Nose 2 paint. This locomotive came in on Q603 a couple of days ago, and this is the first local train that they've used it on. So it goes without questioning that we gave chase to this train. With the CH spur being just past the Lakeland Amtrak station only a few miles from here, the crew was in no rush today, which made it easy to leapfrog this train from Winston to Wabash Avenue. From that last shot at South Lakeland, we moved just past the Lakeland connection to catch 719 now shoving his train to the Eton Park spur. He had just turned north onto the Vitus subdivision and then backed his train down the north leg of the Lakeland Junction Y to turn his train the other way to be in proper alignment for the industries on the spur. Finally, after an exciting short chase, we would leave 719B for now. Then it was an immediate mad dash back to Plant City because CSX train 0709, known as the Plant City Local, was coming up the S-line and about to cross the Plant City Diamond. It was a nerve-wracking dash to the very end. By this time it was already about noon, so it was time for two things: food and gas. Once we filled in those two things, it was back to Winston, because one of the trains affected by the new Jessup curfew was coming out of the yard. The train itself is off to the right, but on the left, flying down the hill from Lakeland, is Amtrak 91, on a swift, speedy run from New York City to Miami, Florida. Now, the real train we came for. Ignoring the two BNSF locomotives for now, this is CSX train 0714. This train is nothing special. This is the Winston yard switcher that puts road trains like this one together. It's about 1 p.m., and in about an hour, this train will become Q60408, normally a nightly mixed freight train from Winston Yard to Waycross, Georgia. But because of the Jessup curfew, he's departing Winston about 2 p.m. Now let's take a look at those BNSF locomotives. The first two CSX GEs were the two locomotives that were assigned to Q604 today. The last three were assigned to a K200-06, a loaded train of diammonium phosphate from Mulberry, Florida to Birmingham, Alabama. But due to CSX's railroad practice PSR, they have decided to combine the two trains and separate them at Baldwin, Florida. Hey, no complaints by me though. With K trains being as unpredictable as they are, them going on Q604 was a better sight to see. The crew of 0714, now that the consist was completely put together, would bring the train up to Wabash Avenue, and then leave it until the crew of Q604 arrived. Once they got on and completed their job briefing, the train would then take on the ID of Q604 and then depart for Waycross, Georgia. We moved up to Lakeland Junction to catch him coming through there, and while we were sitting, I was able to capture on video Q604's job briefing. Now, you've probably heard a number of job briefings from other YouTubers or on your own, but I just think it's so cool to hear it, so I'm going to throw it in the video.
You got Q60408 Williams and Rollerson on duty at 1305. We got 5 engines. 3 on the heads of CSXT 713, 3115, 805. 4th and 5th one's BNSF 5228 and 7196. Got Bulletin 83603, 100 loads, 86 empties, 15,000. 691 on the tonnage, 11,000 feet, yes on the horsepower. The head 2's got 3,700 gallons, and the bottom 3 has got 4,400 gallons of fuel. And we got to set off a K train at Baldwin, no key train, no restrictions, and it looks like yes on the PTC and TO, I think.
PTC, TO, good, no restrictions, you got enough horsepower for the train, alright. Y'all ready to leave now, over?
Yes, sir, we're setting the Wabash loaded up. We're ready to head north, over.
Alright, let's go. Signal location, I'll tell Jay you're ready to fire it up, over.
Thank you, now.
Y'all have a good one, JFL.
I know that took up a big chunk of time right there, but it's so cool to hear that on the radio if you actually get a chance to hear it, because it gives out so much useful information such as tonnage, length, power, and more, such as the stuff listed there. With 604 being 11,000 feet long, and the fact that he had came to a dead stop at Wabash Avenue for 11 minutes, meant that this train had a hard time getting moving again. Because by the time he got up here to Lakeland Junction on the Vitus Sub, which is about 3 miles from where we were at Wabash, he wasn't breaking 20 or 25 miles an hour. And when they did get here, they were rumbling and they were pulling. Of course, not all rail fans are big fans of GE power, but I think we can all agree that GEVO rev on a long train is one of the most powerful sounds you'll ever hear. It's one of those aspects of train watching that I absolutely adore. Since these jumbo covered hoppers at the front were loaded and in one big block, I'd assume that this is K200's consist, which will be taken off the train at Baldwin along with the BNSF power, and then sent north as its own unit train sometime the next day. Finally, after about 100 cars, came Q604's daily block of sulfur, merchandise, and potash. Now that 604 had limped over the hill, he had the rest of the S line ahead of him, so we left him to it. To which we moved down to the old Lakeland Amtrak station at South Lakeland because of two trains we heard on the radio. Number one was 0719, the one with the last YN2 Jeep 38. That train was trying to come back off of the CH spur and head back to Winston, but they would have to wait at the spur switch for Amtrak 91 coming out of Tampa to get past because CSX puts Amtrak in front of everything. And don't get me wrong, setting up under the canopies of the old Lakeland Amtrak station is a great spot, especially if it's raining. But if you're setting up on this side for Amtrak, stand as far back as possible. These trains do not slow down for this station anymore, and standing too close feels like you'll get sucked in right with it. Don't blink or you might just miss it. 91, after making his stop at the new Lakeland Amtrak station and taking off to Miami, left the main line clear for 0719 to come off of the CH spur and diverge onto track 2 here to head down the hill into Winston Yard. After 719, some clouds moved in, and we moved to Plant City for the evening trains. After meeting up with one of my railfan friends, Ivan, we catch Amtrak train number 92. The Silver Star headed back north to New York after spending the night in Miami. Luck out a little bit this day because there was a train coming the opposite direction waiting down in Cherry Siding. CSX train 0704, a local train running from Tampa to Winston and back to Tampa, doing whatever work is required from there to there. Today he was heading engine light out to Winston Yard and would return to Tampa later this evening with about 15 rock loads. one last train for today. How could we forget the good old Q442? Daily mixed freight out of Tampa, Florida, bound for Waycross, Georgia. Special leader on this one today, too. A CSX CW40-8, still in Yellow Nose 2 paint. I'm glad that I'm catching these because someday these will all be gone. Watching Q442's block of Tropicana reefers pass us this Sunday evening, it really makes me think back to the days when this train was a solid unit train that ran this line every day, running to New Jersey all the way. Now it's all but a shell of what it used to be, being mixed into other trains. The final auto rack on Q442 would mark the end of our cool Sunday rail fanning out in Central Florida. It was a great day out here and I love the trains we caught. Though with some of the locomotives and stuff we saw today, I do have to ask myself, how much longer will those engines and paint schemes be here? So on the S line and A lines in Plant City, Florida, this is Kotabeaner, and I'll see you next time on the Sunshine State Rails.